Hello, Vienna, everyone. Now we will begin with today's presentation on, well, as part of the monthly webinar program. Today's topic is on the opportunities and safeguards. And as many of you have read from the description of today's webinar, we have currently 3 staff members joining in from the Department of Safeguards to give us an overview of their background, roles and responsibilities within the IAEA, and potentially some advice to those who would be interested in applying for any of the vacancies, well, in particular the Nuclear Safeguards Inspector vacancies currently available and open for applications at the IAEA. So we have quite a big panel for today's webinar. I'll start off with an introduction of myself. My name is Ji-Yeon Lee. I'm currently an Associate Talent Acquisition Officer here at IAEA. I've been working with the recruitment team since August 2013. As for my education background, I have a Bachelor of Business Administration and International Relations, and I'm from South Korea. And I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves around the table, first with Rodolphe.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rodolphe Debonabiro. I'm a recruitment officer mainly working on safeguard-related recruitment at the IAEA. I joined close to a year ago, and I have a double degree in aerospace engineering and as well as an MBA in entrepreneurship. As you tell, I'm from France, and I bring about 10 to 12 years of recruitment experience in large organizations.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luca Nicodemo, and I'm acting head of recruitment here at the IAEA, where I joined in February 2011, so a bit more than 6 years ago. I have a master's degree in GIS, as well as a master in HR specialist, and I am from Italy.
Hi, my name is Marie, and I am the Administrative Officer for the Department of Safeguards. I have been here since 2010, so coming up on 6 years now. My background is that my work experience is from the public sector, and I have a master's in business administration and the UK.
Good afternoon, I'm Alta Broodrijk. I'm the Senior Inspector of Coordination and Implementation in one of our operations sections. Our agency in September 2002. I have an advanced technical diploma in physical metallurgy and a degree in computer science, and I'm from South Africa.
Hello everyone, my name is Miharu Kiryu. I'm section head in one of the operations section in the Safeguards Department. I joined the agency in 2000, so it's 7 years past. My background is electronic engineering communication from Japan.
Thank you everyone for your introduction. So before we start off with the actual presentation, for those of you who are new to our webinar outreach program, we conduct a presentation on a monthly basis on various different topics, including recruitment process at the IAEA, preparing for an interview with the IAEA, or preparing for a video pre-screening at the IAEA. As some of you have already checked our webpage, there are some of the recordings available, publicly available for you to watch at your time of convenience on our webpage. And of course, we will be conducting different topics on a regular basis, normally at the end of each month. And as part of your registration, if you would like to see much more information about the upcoming webinars, we'll be sending you monthly updates about the next web presentation of the month. I'll hand over to my colleague Luca, who will give us an overview of the staff composition here at the IAEA.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, G. In fact, the IAEA has 168 member states as of June 2017, so this year. And we are represented in terms of our staff by 107 member states. The vast majority of the staff is located here in the headquarters in Vienna, and we're a bit more than 2,500 staff members. We'll have other offices. Actually, we have 2 laboratories, one in Monaco and one in Cyberstoff, which is just outside of Vienna. And then we have offices in Tokyo, in Toronto, and in New York and Geneva. We have approximately 400 professional staff, of which 427 females and 1,000 males, and approximately 1,100 general service staff, which are 714 females and 420 males. So these figures are updated as of June this year. So this slide, actually, we go into the IAEA departments. The IAEA consists of 6 departments, of which 4 are the leading technical department, as we call them, and 2 are support departments. So the support departments are the Department of Management and the Department of Technical Cooperation. And then the 4 leading technical departments are the Department of Safeguards, the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security, the Department of Nuclear Science and Applications, and the Department of Nuclear Energy.
Luca? We have an overview of the different IAEA departments, and as was a topic for today's presentation was on the Department of Safeguards. Now I will hand over to my colleague Marie to talk about the Department of Safeguards in more detail.
Okay, here you have a kind of a broader view of the organizational structure of the Department of Safeguards. If we're from the right-hand side, I'll take you very briefly through the organization. Basically, Safeguards comprises of 6 divisions and 3 offices, all under management of the DDG. Office for Safeguards Analytical Services is, in addition to a range of other responsibilities, basically in charge of the analysis of nuclear material and environmental swipe samples on behalf of the department. Next, we have the Office of Communication and Information Services, and they are responsible for the development and management of all information and communication technology systems and infrastructure in Safeguards. You then have the Division of Concepts and Planning. They develop concepts, approaches, and methods for Safeguards. They prepare policy and guidance. They conduct strategic planning, and they provide assistance to personnel from member states through training, advisory missions, and guidance. Then we have the Division of Information Management. They operate and develop a pool of specialized information analysts and data processing specialists in the collection, processing, and analysis of a range of data relevant to Safeguards to support the verification work of the department. Next, we have the Division of Technical and Scientific Services. They provide the scientific and technical support to divisions of operations, which includes design, development, and maintenance of Safeguards equipment and inspection logistics. And they come to the Operations Divisions and the Office of Safeguards Verification in Iran. Now, the department has 3 operations divisions. These all play a pivotal role in verifying that for states with Safeguards agreements in force, there is no diversion of declared nuclear material from peaceful nuclear activities, and indications of undeclared nuclear material or activities in the state as a whole. Each of these divisions and the Office of Verification in Iran is responsible for implementation of Safeguards in a different geographical area. OA covers Australasia and East Asia. Operations B covers the Middle East, South Asia, Africa, and some non-EU European states and the Americas. And Division of Operations C covers Europe, the Russian Federation, and Central Asia. And the Office for Verification in Iran obviously covers Iran.
Well, thank you, Marie. Although the focus of the current presentation will very much be concentrated on some of the options as was discussed by me, we currently have some of the other vacancies at the professional level are also open and open for applications in other divisions within the Department of Safeguards.
Okay, yes, so let's just be, first of all, about the kind of overarching role of the Department of Safeguards. The IAEA plays a crucial independent verification role aimed at assuring the international community that nuclear material facilities and other items subject to Safeguards are used only for peaceful purposes, and the Department of Safeguards that carries out the IAEA's duties and responsibilities as the world's nuclear inspectorate. Primary objective being to deter the proliferation of nuclear weapons by the early detection of the misuse of nuclear material or technology, and providing credible assurances that states are honouring their safeguards obligations. Within the organisation that we've just looked at, there's a wide range of professional positions available, analysts, inspectors, specialists, evaluators, laboratory positions. And the list here just gives you some examples of positions that come up. Those in red are positions that are currently being advertised. Obviously, today we're going to focus specifically on the nuclear safeguards inspector positions. If I was to kind of give you a view of the general profile of professionals in the Department of Safeguards, we do such a range of work that it's kind of difficult to give you one general picture. Generally, the person will have an academic background in physics or chemistry, ideally with a specialism in nuclear science or nuclear engineering. They'll also have experience in the nuclear field and ideally some experience at an international level.
All right, thank you for your presentation. As Veri mentioned, we will be focusing today on the positions of Nuclear Safeguards Inspector, in which we are currently accepting applications at two different levels, P3 and P4, and you'll be able to find the positions on our career page. So moving on to what a Nuclear Safeguards Inspector is, we currently have two staff members from the Operations Division, in which they will give us an overview of what it means to be an inspector.
So it's just me to start off with the overview.
Great, thank you.
Of the background. As mentioned, we have multiple inspector positions available at the moment, particularly at the P3 and P4 level. P3 candidates need to be able to meet the basic requirements set out in the job description. So that's with regards to experience in the nuclear field, ideally in nuclear fuel cycle facilities, a first degree in physics, chemistry or engineering with a specialisation in a field relevant to nuclear engineering or nuclear technology, and ideally some knowledge or experience in technology relevant to safeguards of the nuclear fuel cycle. However, if we were to kind of look at a focus on the kind of core skills that we're looking for, I think we would like to emphasise how important it is for the person to have strength or analytical skills, strong communication and team working skills, and then to have good observation skills, to be able to take initiative, to be able to show diplomacy. And I would add to that, underlying all of that is really a willingness to learn and the ability to learn. Do not expect to recruit people who will fit the profile for an inspector immediately, and we'll get onto that in a little more detail later. But what we're looking for are people who can listen and learn and can really get stuck in and learn how to do the job. With regards to the P4 inspectors, I think all of that applies, but I would just mention that, again, working for the basic requirements as set out in the job description, so an advanced degree in physics or chemistry or engineering with a specialisation, 7 years hands-on experience in the nuclear field, and ideally we'd like to see that in operations or as a safeguards inspector, either national or international level. And again, knowledge and experience in technology relevant to safeguards in the nuclear fuel cycle. What I add in terms of what we're looking for in addition to the core skills that we seek for P3 positions is we place additional emphasis on the depth of experience and understanding of candidates. We're looking for considerable strength in analytical skills. We're looking for leadership ability, the ability to lead teams in the field, to lead multidisciplinary teams at headquarters, the ability to plan and manage resources. And finally, I'd say we're looking for sound judgment capability, the ability to make decisions under pressure, to take initiative and to solve problems. Now, recruitment for inspectors is planned on an annual basis. Generally, we run one recruitment campaign per year for the P3s and one for the P4s. This is very much dependent on vacancy projections. We recruit to multiple positions, as we've said, and the numbers differ each year, but we would be talking a given year for at least 5 P4 positions and at least 10 P3 positions. And we set a common start date for our successfully recruited external candidates so that this can tie into the extensive training and mentoring program that is associated with the inspector positions. Essentially, this amounts to 5 months of intensive training, which includes induction, theoretical training and practical exercises. And during and after training, candidates are mentored by more experienced inspectors within their assigned areas, and they're supported during their early inspections. The training also continues once the candidate has completed their initial induction, and it's supported with a range of courses targeted toward ensuring that inspectors continue to develop their skills, and it recognises that not every candidate will have all the technical skills required, and training is dedicated to specific areas as a result.
I will go on and give you a little bit more information regarding to the day-to-day activities of inspector. Our activities are broken up into main departments, field activities and also headquarters activities. Each activities will require of you to travel. You need to travel to wherever we have nuclear facilities in order to verify declarations made by the state based on their information. We have various types of inspections. We like normal inventory, physical inventory verifications. We perform unannounced inspections. For states with additional protocols in place, we perform complementary access inspections and also perform design information verification inspections. Well, when you are at a nuclear facility and you are doing a normal physical inventory verification, of course the state need to declare their nuclear material and you are there to verify it. We do this by nuclear material accountancy, which includes examination of records and reports provided by the operator or by the state or by the regional safeguards authorities. Some facilities we have installed equipment, which means that we will do routine servicing of this equipment to collect data from this equipment to be analyzed here at headquarters. Also verify the nuclear material by non-destructive examination, which will require you to perform calibrations of instrumentation and then also verification of the new material. We take environmental swipe samples and destructive examination samples, which are returned to headquarters for analysis. And all of this, we actually verify the absence of undeclared activities at nuclear facilities as well as the absence of all declared nuclear material. So they can ensure that this material will not digest and are not used for non-peaceful activities. We, as I mentioned, do design information verification activities. States are required to provide for us design information on all their nuclear facilities, and we go and verify that this information is consistent with what we can see in the field. Complementary access is, as I mentioned, also under the additional protocol, and during complementary access, we are looking for undeclared material and facilities in a country. Part of our inspections, as I mentioned, we can do on very short notice or announced. There are also then very specific information that we seek during these types of inspections. And I will give to Miharu, who will explain to you more on our headquarters activities.
Okay, sure, Alta. As Alta mentioned about the field activities, in order to do that, you need to plan activities. In order to plan activities, you have to review the state's reports and declarations, and you analyze, and then you prepare for the inspections, various types of inspections, the design information verifications, or complementary accesses. And then you go to a field and then do the activities, and then after you come back from the activities, you need to review, evaluate of the remote monitoring processes data or surveillance data if the facility has, and complete reports of inspections or complementary access or design information verification. And declared information against data collected during the inspections or complementary accesses. You are eventually assigned as a responsible officer of specific facility or site or country. You keep track of the technical information to your responsible areas, follow-up actions which are resulted from in-field or headquarter activities, and evaluate of the country or city to confirm that there is no diversion of declared nuclear material, or to confirm that there is no indication of declared nuclear or activities. All of those that you need to use all information available to the agency, including state reports, operations, activity results, information, and open source. Also that you have many opportunities to take training courses as I mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Miharu, Alta, and Marie, for your for the presentation. I believe it's a very useful information for those who would be interested in applying for the inspector roles or who have already applied to the vacancies at the moment. So now we have more of an overview of the context of what the role entails. I will now, again, ask our colleagues to provide a more detailed information about their background, what they have been doing before they joined the IAEA, or how they chose the IAEA as an employer of choice, and if possible, also to provide some advice to potential applicants.
Okay, I will start. As I said, my background is electronic engineering communication. I worked in the government for some years, more than 5 years. I worked as a nuclear safety inspector and also that safety inspector. While I was doing the nuclear safety inspector, I examined safety design of nuclear facilities. I was responsible for reprocessing plants and fabrication plants and reactors. And I became a state nuclear safeguards inspector. Carry out inspection at various facilities. Mainly, I was inspecting for enrichment plants and reactors to get agencies inspectors. That is the kind of interaction with the IAEA I had when I was still in my country. I participated in various meetings set up between IAEA and my country's safeguards office to discuss various issues and follow-up actions. So then I decided to apply safeguard inspector's job in IAEA. And 17 years I have been working as inspector and manager at the 4 sections in the department. The first 3 years I was working in the section responsible for safeguards in Canada. I moved to responsible for sections responsible for Middle East and African countries, to a section responsible for Central Europe countries. Then now it is where I am working for. The job is I had the management position in the Office for Verification in Iran. I'm doing manage the work and deliveries of the section, implement activities in the field and headquarters, evaluate of the state reports and the questions, verification activities, and the information available to the IAEA. Working at the Office for Verification in Iran, which is responsible for safeguard activities in Iran. Activities are mainly divided in two areas. The one is related to safeguard agreement between the IAEA and Iran, in addition protocol-related activities. And so we are working on activities related to verification and monitoring of Iran's nuclear commitments created in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which was agreed between the EU+3 and Iran in July 2015. So I'd like to mention that if you become an inspector, you have a lot of opportunities, challenges and opportunities. You can use your expertise, you can do various installations in different countries, and you can have the opportunity to learn different areas of expertise that you don't have, or you can mentor to the others that not other expertise. You can work in international environment, work with the people who come from different areas of expertise, and then also who have different culture. Thank you.
For sharing your experience and also your responsibilities here at the IAEA. Now I will also hand over to Alta, who is sitting with us on the table, to also give us an overview of her background.
As I previously mentioned, I have an advanced technical diploma in physical metallurgy and a degree in computer science. I had 22 experience in the nuclear field before I joined the agency. This included experience on the operator side as well as on the state side. I have experience in field fabrication, conversion, and destructive examination. I was also head for the quality control department in our field fabrication plant, and I also ensured implementation of safeguards, doing accountancy and providing the necessary declarations to the IAEA. I decided that it seems to me that it would be good to join the agency. I had experience in non-proliferation as well, because I was the member of our non-proliferation committee, looking at imports and exports and compliance of South Africa to the the Nuclear Suppliers Group, the Zanger Committee, Missile Technology, and Biological and Toxin Weapons Conventions. And with this experience, I thought that I could contribute to the agency. I felt that the work was really challenging and interesting. It brought my experience, and I thought it would be nice to serve the international community. I have been at the agency for 15 years now, where I started in Operations B, and I'm still in Operations B. I never managed to leave them, but it's really interesting operations because you go to South America, and I do in America itself, and as well as Canada, also inspections. My responsibilities are, I'm the senior inspector, which means that I'm part of the management team, but I lead and supervise inspectors. I compile and provide information to for the annual implementation safeguards report. Organize and participate in safeguards negotiation meetings with the states, prepare safeguards approaches and procedures, evaluate safeguards implementation in the states. Also responsible for training of our new inspectors and evaluating of their performance and how they perform inspection. A little bit advice for applicants that want to apply for a job. the job description provided in the advertisement of the post. Carefully read those, because it clearly states the functions that you will do, the key results that we expect, the competencies and experience that we expect. So you ensure that you meet those, or if you know that you meet those and you can provide information to us that you meet this, this will be very advantageous for you. You have to remember that you will work in nuclear facilities, because we do inspections in nuclear facilities. You will be required to travel. We work with a lot of different nationalities and cultures, which for me makes the work very interesting. Also bear in mind that our interviews are competency-based interviews, so you need to really provide examples of your experience. This will be, you will benefit from this during interviews.
All right. Thank you, Alta, for your presentation and also your background. I will also pass on to Marie, who is the Administrative Officer for the Department of Safeguards.
Okay. As I said at the start, my background is essentially in the public sector, and I joined the AEA about 6 years ago. My education background is that I have a master's in business administration. In terms of what I do here, I won't go into too much detail because it's not so interesting as Maharu and Alta. But essentially, I work within the Office of the Deputy Director General. I am the Administrative Officer for the department, so I work with managers across the department to ensure that the most efficient and effective provision of human resources, administrative and support services are required for the implementation of the department's programme. In practical terms, that means I handle work on elements of the programme and budget planning and implementation, including workforce planning, and I coordinate key HR processes from the departmental perspective. That includes overseeing departmental recruitment and managing the recruitment for the P3 and P4 inspectors. Like Alta and Maharu, that means that I've spent a fair amount of time interviewing candidates and waiting candidates for the P3 and P4 recruitment processes. And in terms of me giving some tips for potential candidates on preparation for the recruitment process, I'd just like to emphasize what Alta has already touched upon, really. We're looking for a range of candidates. These are multiple positions, so we are looking for a range of people. And I think it's really helpful if you read the job description carefully, as I said, and really target your application to that job description. You have space on your application for a letter of motivation, and make sure that your letter of motivation really highlights how you meet the criteria, how you are the person that we're looking for. I would also strongly recommend that you prepare well. It's in your interest to have a good understanding of the position for which you're applying, and my colleague will touch upon that in a moment, but it's a really good idea to get a good understanding of the challenges of this role as well as the benefits of this role. It also makes a good impression on the panel if you can show that you have prepared in advance, and improves your chances of providing strong answers to the questions. I'd also emphasize Alta's comment about the fact that the interview will be competency-based. We will be asking you to give us real examples from your previous experience that demonstrate the skills that we're looking for. So be prepared to provide us with that information. And finally, I'd also note that it's not uncommon for people to have to apply more than once in order to be successfully recruited as an inspector. So if you have applied before, that shouldn't prevent you or dishearten you from applying again. If this is your first application and by the end of the process you aren't successful, that doesn't mean that you should give up. We're always welcome people to reapply.
All right, thank you, Marie. Well, for all of you, we hope that with these accounts and also the advice coming from the staff members from the Department of Safeguards, this proved to be quite useful and for your understanding of what entails to be a safeguards inspector. And moving on, my colleague, Rodolphe, will provide you with some information on some of the available resources on our IAEA webpage.
Thank you, Jean. So as you heard during this webinar, we had a lot of insight from individuals working with Safeguard or participating in the recruiting process. But we have also additional resources that you are able to look on your own that will give you a better understanding, a better overview of what is a nuclear safeguard inspectors at the IAEA. This one is an article that we have on our IAEA website called A Day in the Life of Safeguard Inspectors. It's a 4-page document that gives you a really good understanding of what it is to work as an inspector at the IAEA. So I recommend all of you joining the webinar to have a quick glance at this article. It gives you also some concrete data of how many inspectors we have. For example, we have on average 380 designated inspectors from around 80 countries in the agency, as well as some other testimonials of current and previous inspectors that will probably help you in your application process. There are also some data on how many verification activities we convey. For example, in 2016, the agency has done about 3,000 in-field verifications, which led to about 13,000 days of field activity. So look at this article, some data, and be prepared for your application. I also have a YouTube videos channel specifically on the IAEA that gives you a glance of a lot of different aspects of the nuclear inspector role. There's an inspection video, there is also a report video on how the inspectors, when they return to the agencies, what are the next steps to be done with the findings they have during the facilities. There are videos as well on explaining how to inspect the different aspects of the nuclear fuel cycle. So really encourage all of you to look at those 3 to 5 minutes video on your own time. Overall, as you mentioned, you need to prepare, and those resources will help you to best prepare coming to the interview.
Thank you, Rodolphe. And as many of you are, well, either have already submitted an application recently or some years ago, or you are likely or very likely to apply to one of the open vacancies here at the IAEA. Here is a slide on the overall selection process. My colleague Rodolphe will now, again, give a brief overview of what the process looks like.
Thank you. So this, as you can see on the slide, is what we call the recruitment funnel. So it starts from the left side when candidates start to applying for the post advertised, and it ends on the right side with the recommended best candidate recommended for the post. I'll guide you through all those different steps, and I'll try my best to give you an overview of how the approach for each of the recruitment process steps. The first one is the application review. It's been quite a few times during the webinar that your education and experience need to match, obviously, the requirement of the position. Make sure you prepare what we call in the agency your PHF, your personal history form, with the application form you will need in order to apply to the vacancy. Make sure you highlight your education, your experience in reference to the position you apply. The committee, the hiring manager, the HR team also work on what we call filter questions. So the second step of the process, we ask specific additional questions that are necessary to have or as assets for the specific post. So be able to answer questions on what level of education you have, what experience you can bring, and what technical aspect of the role you can fulfill during the IAEA. Next steps, the written technical test and the video pre-screening assessment are what we call optional. They don't have to be part of all the recruiting process at the IAEA, but some of the position and some of the hiring manager and HR managers use them to filter additionally the recruiting process. The written test is usually defined with the hiring managers and consists of a technical test specifically based on the position of interest, and is usually done virtually by email within a certain time frame. The video pre-screening is a one-way interview video system that we send to candidates to answer basic 3 or 4 usually technical, or it could be also soft skills questions related to the job description. Again, it's optional and will depend on the type of position you're applying for. We have the last part of the recruiting process, which is the panel interview. The panel interview is usually done face-to-face or in virtual conference mode if you are not in our headquarters, and is, as the title says, consists of different individuals as a panel. Usually we have the hiring manager for the position, the administrative assistant of that division, an HR colleague maintaining the HR process in the panel, as well as additional counterparts that are usually from other divisions, but are usually working with the incumbent of that role. The panel interviews consist of about an hour competency-based interview, and again, you need to maximize your examples on competency-based type of questions in order to answer well and to go to the final recommendation. In terms of timeline, if I can just share, assessment takes about 2 to 3 months after the closure of the vacancy. So expect 2 to 3 months between applying and doing the assessment if you're selected. The overall average cycle time takes about 6 months at the agencies, more or less. Finally, I would just give one advice from my experience here. In order to finally arrive at the recommendation level, you need to maximize and focus and prepare all those different processes. So take all those processes as standalone and work towards maximizing the output for each.
Thank you. And just to add on to this slide here, just for your information, on our webpage on the webinar, the previous webinars that we have recorded in the past, we have a recording for you to view if you would like to on the application, how to prepare a job application, on how to fill out the PHS. Also another webinar on how to prepare for a video pre-screening assessment, and another separate 1-hour session on how to prepare for competency-based interviews. So in case, if you are excited, be of course of your interest to listen in to these webinars, but also if you are interested and are submitting an application, it will be useful information for you to review the video recordings at a later date.
We have all our positions currently available on our IAA website, you can see on this slide, with particular emphasis, of course, on the 2 inspectors, P3 and P4, that are still advertised until the 1st of September. There is a possibility that the P3 inspector role will be extended an additional week, but of course, if you are, after these few minutes, if you're interested to apply, please do so directly on our portal.
To close off today's presentation, we have a separate LinkedIn account which is dedicated to recruitment purposes. So we feed or we provide information on a daily basis on not just job opportunities, but also information regarding webinars or other interesting developments and news of the IAEA. So if you are not already connected with us through LinkedIn, feel free to send us a connection request, and we will be providing you with information necessary. So we're coming to the close of the webinar for today. We have received some questions via chat feature, but in case you have any questions that you would like to address, whether it was part of the presentations for today or any other questions that you may have, please feel free to send to us by the chat feature. So I'll start off with some questions on the recruitment process that Rodolphe mentioned about the pre-screening. So Rodolphe mentioned that some of the pre-screening aspects regarding the written technical assessment, this is a technical evaluation which are normally conducted online, and these are relevant to the job or to the functions of that particular position. So when you are invited for a test, it could be in different forms. It could be writing an essay or reading different articles and writing a summary, or to see if you have the proper technical skills to perform the functions. And also the video pre-screening assessment may also be an option. These 2 pre-screening assessments are not pertaining to every single vacancy of the IAEA, but for our evaluation measures to make sure that everything is measured correctly and that we have substantial evaluation of all the candidates. We try to put them in place as part of the recruitment process. If I may ask some of the colleagues here to address some of the questions that was asked during the webinar, in particular regards to the recruitment of safeguards inspectors, if you can.
There were just a couple that I noted. One, there's a question there about whether if you've applied earlier, you have to reapply. And the answer is yes. So if you applied last year, then you have to reapply for this new process to be considered. There was also a question regarding the recruitment process timing of interviews, etc. The timetable depends on the number of candidates that we ultimately interview, but broadly speaking, we're talking about interviewing for P4 positions in early October and interviewing for P3 positions in late October. Ideally, we would be hoping to notify successful candidates for P4 positions in early December and for P3 positions in late December to January. There's also a question about percentage of time in headquarters versus time in the field.
I think time in headquarters versus time in the field depends also a little bit on the operations division in which you are. For my section, I can give you, currently our inspectors spend about 70 to 80 days in the field, and this includes now travel days, and the rest of the time, of course, in headquarters.
And would you mention anything?
Duration of inspections, that also depends very much on the operations division where you are. For us, typically we try to have inspections of at least 17 days in a row, because we are traveling to South America. And then, of course, you try to spend as much time in the field as possible. There is, however, a limitation of 26 days, I think. We send inspectors into the field for longer than 26 days at a time. But we have to keep it around 17 to 21. Other operations, I think Miharu may be able to give you more information in OC. I think the inspections are shorter.
Yes. Yes, in OC countries, they are very close to Vienna. Normally, we have a week, longest is a week length of inspection trips. But sometimes, of course, there are some exceptions for the physical inventory verification, which takes a little longer, then you may go for 2 weeks. In case of the trip to Iran, normally people have 10 days to 2 weeks trips.
There was a question as well on tenure from someone. So the IAEA does have a tenure policy for professional posts and for fixed-term type of contract. It's a maximum of 7 years. Of course, the initial contract will be 3 years and then subject to extension.
Also a question about age limits for inspectors, and the answer to that would be that there is no specific age limit. Obviously, 65 is the age of retirement within the IAEA. Other than that, there are no restrictions on age, except that you've had enough time to gain the experience that we're looking for. Please, Booker.
There's another question from someone asking if I were to apply for a P4, then would I still be considered for a P3? These are two different processes, so if you're interested in the P3 or the P4, please apply to both vacancies.
Also a question about, adding on to the, experience and everything, as the panel members have indicated, please have a look at the requirements of the education requirement, also the years of experience, because these are considered to be the minimum requirements for a person to be considered, for the vacancies. If, for instance, the P3 would require 5 years of experience, and the P4 would require a minimum of 7 years of experience to be considered. If you do not have any practical hands-on experience, it may prove to be difficult. In certain cases, there are different opportunities for young professionals in which you would be able to read about some of the internship opportunities, or if in some other nationalities, or there may be some JPO agreements in place in which we provide some opportunities for young professionals. Could I ask some of the panel members to touch upon what is the best part of working for the IAEA, if possible?
I think, as I said, for me, is that we are playing an important role in providing assurances to the international community. And also our efforts really reduce the spread of nuclear weapons. So for me, I think that is a very important part of this job. Traveling, of course, if you like traveling, it's interesting, but I think unfortunately we inside of new disciplines, we do not see very much of the country itself. But yes, you do have the opportunity to travel and see a little bit of new facilities in other countries. Yeah.
I said earlier, you have opportunity to work with various people, different culture, different background. This is a very, very excellent opportunity.
Yeah.
I would agree. Getting to work in the multicultural background is brilliant. Getting to work with such committed and hardworking people is brilliant. It doesn't hurt that we're based in Vienna, which is also a wonderful city to in. But yes, really, it's the energy behind the people that I work with and the commitment from those people that makes me enjoy coming into work.
All right. Well, due to time constraints, I believe these are the questions that we will take for now. Well, thank you again for your interest and for participating in today's webinar. For those who are interested in applying for any of the vacancies in safeguards and also for the nuclear safeguards inspectors, we hope today's session proved to be useful for you. I'll thank you again, and we'll see you for our next webinar to be conducted in September. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, and I wish you success with future applications.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.